that the Odisha, after 24 years, there is a regime change happened in Odisha. So that also impacted some kind of things. And then data system also is not well equipped. Then economic barrier is that different local townspeople, they have vested interest on MG energy. They will tell this much of land to be developed. So 10 lakhs of money sanctioned. So we will give 10 people whose name will be continued, they will not go. But their money that should go. So this kind of thing, the political thing that is the barrier. Then the capacity gap still not 100% resolved. So this is the pathway. This is the last slide. How we will scale it up? Then this area-based approach we found. So when community is empowered, so it can be done. When community is empowered with data, so it will create some enabling things. When community will be empowered with data, with the intention and clubbing with all CSOs, CBOs with them, then something is going to change. The whole ecosystem. Then community system that is basically the sustainable and maintenance part. Then most importantly, these women group members, they are becoming the steward. So they are working like a change agent. So if something is not related even to water also, they are providing some kind of facilitation to the knowledge center. So that is creating the gap. So the pathway is that how we can change the system is the landscape level planning. We can involve the cross-cutting departmental people's involvement, line department involvement at the block level. Then institutional convergence through the GPDP, engineering, the PESA-based planning that is happening. Then invest long-term capacity building, the panchayat intervention. Those panchayat people, we have made mandatory in our map system that 2 people from the panchayat will be trained on land and water management. 2 will be trained on the entitlement facilitation. So the 4 in each panchayat they are trained by us. So that's a kind of capacity building that is happening. Then financing framework, also the kind of ecological restoration. Then the commons governance. Commons governance is very real grey area. So where we are still studying. So commons we are dealing only with the land and forest. There are some others also common areas like livelihood of different source from the forest, and then the livestock and other things. So that is still has some cross-cutting issues in that. So that we have to see. Then adopt measurement system and capturing the socio-economic outcomes. So we are doing a lot, we are telling people a lot, but we are trying to set up one thing that the community people, they will kind of evaluate themselves, the system and then impact. So they will spread it across. So that is one thing that we are adopting but not yet finalized. So this is some of the photographs that we do, like GPDP planning. We train normally the women SHG members that is there. Then the SHG members given particular plan, they work, and most importantly the secondary guidelines. So you can see the third photo. So in each people's own land, bond is constructed, where they have to sacrifice some part of land to construct that. So to get them to that level is very important. So we as an outsider, we couldn't do. As a SSG member from that village, they say the production will be double if you have to leave this much of land. So that kind of arrangement that is done. Then these are the primary bonds from the hills, water is going there. You can see water here is being diverted to higher land. Instead of that also the land you see after the burn is also recharged. Similarly, you can see this we did in the first, the pre and then the post. You can see in the post, so the water retention capacity increases and where they are adopting the long-term paddy, so which it gave them a long income, improved income as well. So these are some of the technical things that is being done through the project. So know your landscape, where exactly the land is there and land category. Then through that commons connect the next. Then some kind of view that is not being tried. The sandbox that has been there. These are some of the cropping intensity, so they can plan. This is very important. So now they can see in their mobile immediately. So the last 10 years data. So how it is being done. So every year they are transplanting, but they are free. Because they did not know that what is the capacity of absorption of water. So now they can see in their mobile. But one important thing is that somebody has to translate it. So now they are not able to deliver it. That will take, handling support will take us 1 or 2 years. Then that will be fine. These are some of the techniques and some conversation with the community that takes place. What is the depression stress on that hydrological thing? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So that was, before we open for the question and answers, I will just say that this was a very insightful one, and we really appreciate the kind of effort which has gone from the community-driven approach and bringing all the multi-stakeholders and talking about that area as a focus. So we, in order to proceed further, we will request for 3 questions, and then we move to the next presentation. So if anybody from the audience would like to. Sure.
Please. Yeah, just one. You mentioned that you worked in how many villages were there?
So it's 63.
And these were in one specific block, or they were?
Yeah, they were in different blocks, 5 blocks. Even different districts also.
Okay, in different
So we just started in 3 areas. Then we saw it for 5 years.
Okay.
Then the team came. They kind of told it's a kind of established things, and the amount of water regenerated and the moisture regime improved. You can scale it up.
I had a question in terms of the community heterogeneity. What was the composition? Was it different, or was it a homogeneous community?
No, it's a heterogeneous community.
It's a heterogeneous.
But a majority of 80% they are tribals. Okay. So the heterogeneity doesn't impact or rule over the decision of these people. Because in rural community they stay with their diversity, with their cultural bondages, even with the other state. That's the state of affairs in Odisha. So yes, conflict is with the people having land in the those who are well off and the poor. So that conflict is there, but not as a caste.
Sorry,
Yes.
When we speak of that, let's say you work in 10, 12 villages and a cluster. You also mentioned that you work with the Gram Panchayats for GPT. So when you were sitting with the Panchayat, like in terms of participation, what's the, sort of decision making protocols or, process that was adopted? Was it very sort of, typically we see only 3-4 people kind of coming together and making at a panchayat level. So what was the process that you
So we normally we don't go directly to the panchayat. What we do, so we ask these women group members to invite some of the panchayat members to the field when the village meeting takes place, right? So when the villagers, they will tell that these are the activities that you have to take up under NGNREGA. So they kind of involve themselves. So beforehand, there is a consensus comes in the ground with those panchayat people. So, even there will be 15 to 20 members are the community members, SHG members. One of them could be the SHG, the PRI members as well. When C represents at the Panchayat, in the Panchayat meeting, they themselves carry a lot of things with differences also. So there are differences, but before Panchayat meeting, we do a lot of groundwork.
So last question, that's all connected. So let's say we want to take this approach in the entire block. How is that coordination, especially with administration, that if we put a jurisdictional layer, how is this approach can contribute to that? If let's say from 7 villages you want to, because Panchayat ke baad block is the next jurisdictional layer. How can we take it from this to that level?
Yes, we have two mechanisms. One mechanism is that the map platform is there at the block level. So they see all the works. That is one. So that map process, people's representative from the ground, Panchayat level, cluster level also, they have a representation at the block level. Through them, we did scale it up to the district level as well. Okay. Right. So when there is a government, there are different strategies. Suppose last year, the Secretary of Government of India, they came. So we make them ensure that visit is there. So when they visited, then all district level officers we called, including all the videos of the district. So they came there, let's see. Right. So kind of exposing to the system, that is one option. Second, whenever we are trying in different areas. So suppose we will scale it up with the 10 projects. The 10 projects could be in a different area spread over the blocks. That is the first level. Second level, different blocks we are scaling it up. Then we are constantly in touch with the district administration collector at the district level and PTDRDA, CEO, Jilla Parishad. So they are involved in sanctioning the project also. So they know the things are happening. And people representative, they come with their plan to the law. So there is a kind of link and chain in between. First, the knowledge dissemination, scaling, and the kind of orbs, common orbs.
Yes, that could be a very common question for the disability presentations.
Could you share your name, please?
My name is Abhinav.
Thank you. When you wanted to?
Just want to ask, how did you leverage Commons Connect? You said technology is very important in this work. What are the key applications of Commons Connect that you found useful?
Common Connect we found useful in identifying the proper geography. That is number one. Suppose they are going to take up some plantation program, which is the geography in that villages, because the villages might have 10 different plots, unused plots, wasteland also, but within those areas where it will be befitting for the plantation. For that, they get 6 to 7 indicators put in there in the Commons Connect, so they can simply go there and put the button over there, and it will show the whole geography, land pattern, rainfall pattern, recharge pattern, everything. So the 4 or 5 things they can see. So then if there are 5 to 6, out of 5 to 6, 3 or 4 are peak, then they select that. So selection of plot is one. Second, through Commons Connect, the plan there too, it will go to the server and through in the KOL, there they get a complete data of that village, DPR kind of for each project. That is second. Third, about the budgeting. Because NGNRG labor budget is one. Number of people include into 100 days. That is fixed. So within that period, how they can do it? It cannot be completed in 1 year. Right? So it has to be a multiple year. So they have to adjust the things. So that is why it has been done. And women particularly, something they lack in reading the English. We are trying to do it in India. So let's see.
Great. So we move on to the next presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next presentation we have from our partner organization, Vasan. And we have DG Vishal who will be taking us through the work that Vasan has been doing in the Veparigula block. with the help of other partner organizations, and usually we'll have details. Yeah, plus 2, 3 you can take one, then quick round.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share the work which is happening as part of the Common Ground initiative in Centrality. For those of you, my name is a little difficult, so I'll repeat. Jijivishya. I'm representing Watershed Support Services and Activities Network Grasslands, which is part of the Common Ground consortium. And so this is Vasan is maybe some of you know us, has been more of a resource and technical and networking based organization, and this is something that we have started as part of our whole evolution of working on landscapes and area based approach. This is something that we started doing last year, and it has been a very good learning curve till now. And just another caveat is that I am associated with certain parts of this, and I'm actually representing my colleagues who have really worked very intensively here. So I'll try my best to do justice and then give answers. Yeah. So this is the Golpariguda block in Koraput. And again, just to understand the landscape a little bit, it's tribal, rain-fed, the topography varies, and there is forest areas, there is the fringe lands, there's the lowland paddy areas, so it's quite varying. And one more thing is that actually, a lot of the civil society organizations have been working in this block for quite some time. So, along with them, then even the community-based organizations are quite, active there, and they have a strong presence on the ground. We were asked to, take it, first go into the nitty-gritties of why in this landscape, why did we feel that a landscape-based and area-based approach would work. So this is just a gist of what came from the preliminary scoping and preliminary participatory exercises, and talking to the civil society, talking to the government there, talking to the community there. This is just a brief profile. So basically, because it's primarily rain-fed, so if there is a dry spell, the resilience goes down, the productivity is one of the challenges. Irrigation, again, the area is not that much. Then those are certain, more or less all rain-fed areas have those problems. The soil is severely affected there, so there's a lot of soil erosion, and increasingly the cropping pattern is shifting to paddy and hybrid maize. And those were the issues that we saw. And then why exactly do we move into area-based approach? What has been the sensibility? Why, in order to solve for those certain landscape-specific and certain pan rain-fed problems, how does an area-based approach actually help? So what we have seen is, all of us would have experienced that public investments, and Sir really explained it well. So all the public investments are quite generic. They operate in silos. So in Odisha, for example, there's an Odisha Millet Mission, there's a Odisha Makkah Mission, there is a APC, Agriculture Production Cluster. And all three are quite different. In the design, in the approach and everything happening in the same place, all the actors doing it. So it's sometimes you feel there's inconsistency in the whole thing. So that was one of the reasons that, an area-based approach becomes so much more important. And then as Sir, gave the most perfect example, that, farm pond going in the recharge zone instead of the discharge zone. So until and unless you do a proper area-based planning, spatial planning, and talk to the community-based organizations and have the tools, necessary tools, etc. Doing anything there would, the operational inefficiencies would be there. So the other thing that we saw is that, with the policy landscape and the civil society working there, so there's not much, coordination. So there are multiple actors working in the area, but everyone is taking slightly different directions, not converging, So those were the reasons why this particular landscape was, sort of chosen to try out the area-based approach. So this started in September last year, September of 2024. Maybe the scoping, etc. started a bit earlier, somewhere around June, July. And this is like the evolution so far. So after the preliminary scoping exercises, there was there was a series of workshops and consultations with all the landscape actors. Then landscape actors, I'll show you in a subsequent slide. So the civil society, the community-based organizations there, the line departments, district administration, as well as common ground partners, knowledge partners, COSTAC, with the Vasan, all of those people together. And then they did some resource mapping. So just keep this in mind when we have the subsequent slides there. The important thing here is that after they understood their landscape and did the resource mapping, etc., all of them came together to prioritize certain long-term and certain short-term goals for the landscape. And from there on, it sort of created a ground to actually take it to the district administration and the line departments and everything. And so there is a kind of a buy-in amongst all the multiple stakeholders that, okay, these are our long-term goals and short-term goals for the landscape for the coming years. And then a certain structure and governance systems have evolved. And, I'll take that in the next slide. So this is how the initial workshops, so you can see on that one, the women from the block level federation and the BPLS, they all, they sat down and they started seeing, okay, where, what, those kind of a thing. I mean, separately, we've also sort of evolved their kind of, the participatory tools around EPRA and Fasal Chakra and all of that. So a lot of that was also used here. And this is how it looked. So they sort of looked at the whole context, and so multiple stakeholders, so what has worked, what has not worked, and those kind of things. And one of the key things they did was that once they sort of mapped their whole landscape, they could clearly say, okay, this cluster in that block itself, then they sort of divided it into 5 clusters, based on the kind of a, in that larger area, what were the typologies that they saw. So they actually, somewhere there was more forest cover, somewhere there was more lowland, and in terms of accessibility and all those kind of, metadata around the clusters that they could imagine in a landscape. This is how the clusters looked, and these are the long-term and short-term goals that I was just mentioning. So they came together and they said, okay, these for my landscape, for our area, this is what we want to do in the next 5 to 10 years. Okay, so they articulated around the incomes, they articulated around the nutrition and the natural resource ecosystem. Then how you can actually work with the community-based organizations and institutional systems for managing natural resources, and again then an imagination of the landscape platform itself, the map itself. Like what should it allow us to do? What kind of conversions? What kind of coordination, dialogue, etc. So and then these were certain short-term goals that they agreed on, and then it is an iterative process. So if the map is there in a landscape platform with the partners, all the actors, the expectation is that every few months, every year, maybe whatever the frequency, they come back on the drawing board and see, okay, these are our short-term goals, where are we, what are the next set of goals, how do we tweak it, etc. So this was in a way like the initial, ask from the community and all the stakeholders that collectively we should work on doing this at least in the next 1 to 2 years, and then assess. So yeah, one was the diversification of crop systems. Second is the livestock farming and integrated systems. Looking at the natural resources, looking at the livestock systems and what are the synergies there. And again, looking at all the water bodies in the landscape, because it's a generally surface water body kind of a landscape. So what can be done there? Fisheries, intensification potential and all of that. And effective water resource management, achieving land degradation neutrality. So then one of the partners really works on the forest fringes and works on ATFP and all of that. So they really wanted to look at that and nutrition. So one of the highlights of this, what happened is that after this particular group, they decided on how the landscape looks, what are the resources, what they want to do, what are the goals, etc. They engaged with the district administration, with all the line departments and everyone. And so this is how the structure which is presently emerged. And then the district administration, said, okay, the CDAO office, the office of the chief district agriculture officer, that will also be part of the map, that will represent all the 9 departments, and whatever convergence that needs to happen from the district administration then can happen through the CDAO. So, and all the people sort of entered into an MOU, all the multiple actors with their roles and responsibilities, with the goals and with what is that they want to achieve. And there was a buy-in, there was a clear buy-in from the district as well as the other partners. So ultimately this is how it looks like, and this is the broad contours of what it does. So there's a all these actors are part of the multi-actor platform. When I say all, I mean there is space. So we can clearly see, we were having the conversation yesterday, that value chain market actors or scientific organizations. So again the owners, there is one distinction which is very clear is the community-based organizations are the owners. So increasingly, they should be the decision makers, and they should have the power, to decide who is in, who is not in, to what extent, to what function someone is serving the purpose there. Okay. So, and then there is a landscape resource center, which again, as Sir was also mentioning, so all the database around the landscape, the tech around the landscape, the knowledge systems around the landscape will be hosted there. And there's we saw the goals. So one of the structures that emerged is that, okay, we know there are owners, there are community-based organizations. We know that there is civil society. The primary role is enabling and facilitating the whole thing, but also the civil society has access to several solutions to the problems and issues that are emerging. So they are also a kind of, solution providers, or, getting the solutions, the right kind of solutions to the landscape. But again, one of the things that we realized is the design of the solutions. What is it that will really work? How do we reach there? Is again something that we are learning and evolving. How do you have that consensus on the design? So this is how, I don't know how clear this is. So presently this is the structure. So you can see that from the thematic action groups, fisheries, forest, nutrition, livestock, water, this is corresponding to the short-term goals that emerged. And you can see there are anchors. So let's say the fisheries, all the water bodies, looking at fisheries potential, looking at intensification potential, Pragati is anchoring that. Then CYST is anchoring the natural farming thing. Harsha Trust is anchoring the integrated livestock systems thing. So this is the, the present architecture, so to say. And one of the other expectations was to talk about outcomes. So I think that is a little too, short because it's just been 1 year. So we can't concretely say what are the outcomes or something like that. But I thought we can share that how they are approaching the different themes and what all activities, etc., have happened. So this is basically, so the idea is that each of the anchor then really, pushes for that particular solutioning. Whether they might have the solution or they get it from outside, and they co-create it. So that's the kind of an approach. So block level meetings to discuss and the tools and some of the initiatives. So they have started across, I think they are doing it presently for 100 acres or 200 acres. I just forgot the span, yesterday only he said. So they've started in this season with the PMDS and other things. And simultaneously in other themes, they're trying to first, map the whole thing, all the water bodies, so collect the data for that. Then look at the support systems also. So who will do the fish stocking, fingerling stocking, and probably identifying entrepreneurs from that. Similarly on the seed systems and the common land for fodder security. So those kind of multiple initiatives, multiple kind of planning, and this is taking shape. So this is again a thinking which this is where my engagement with this work started, is to then start imagining, okay, the demand for certain things is coming from the ground, from the community. They're like, okay, we'll do it. But how do you imagine, because we're looking for the landscape as a whole, you're looking at a saturated delivery of solutions across the landscape. So how do you imagine the response? And what all should the response tie together? Because, and I think Sir is sitting here, so one of the best lessons has been the farmer-to-farmer extension, for example. So how do you actually build the community expertise in something, so that eventually this gets institutionalized in the community and this, external players don't have to be there. So that is the knowledge and capacities part. Similarly, the technology and physical infrastructure. What are the enterprises? What are the support systems? What are the investments on the farm or the landscape that the community, the landscape needs? And support system, I just touched base. And there is, the whole, so I think that is a part which, as the entire initiative actually needs to intensify, is how do you actually anchor it in the local CPOs, okay, and not, externalize the whole thing. And there's finance. So now this finance bit is something that caught our imagination that, okay, this is a landscape we are talking about. This is a platform we are saying is dedicated for the landscape, has all the actors, has the government, everything, the buy everything. Once the demand for solutions is coming, how do you actually have a finance mechanism that does justice to that? That again, finance should not be in a way that is rigid, that, you look at the present state of philanthropic finance or public grants or whatever, they are, quite schematic in nature, projectized in nature. So how do you break away from that and actually cater to what the farmer needs in that flexibility that is expected. So what we are now imagining is a kind of a landscape finance mechanism, which is based on the principles of blended finance. I won't go too much in the depth of it, but essentially how do you evolve a mechanism which uses grants as catalytic fund rather than as core investments, and by using them as catalytic funds can actually attract commercial capital, affordable commercial capital for the community, okay, and which again through that entire support system is sort of ensured, that we are not over leveraging them, we are not, putting unnecessary risks, but at the same time we are ensuring that there is no selection bias, there's actual demand for solutions and it is being channelized to the farmers. So that's the thing. So this is how I like to think about landscape finance. So, so basically this the x-axis, if you see, there is, when we start working in a landscape, common ground, and you keep having this dialogue, okay? So there's obviously the landscape level investments, okay? The investments on all the water resources or water management or what service sharing or the common, commons or models such as fodder development in the commons or models around AKP, models around forests. But there's also group level investments and there's also individual and farm level investments. That if we are envisioning the landscape as a whole, we should be prepared to channelize these investments as well. And how then you can, in that y-axis, there can be more sources of, to simplify it, I just made 3 typologies. How do you, use the different sources of funding and, create instruments? For example, I'll just take the case of this thing that we are piloting, which is trying out. I don't know how much of it is visible. So almost all of us are, through our understanding and work now understand the importance of like a more ecologically intensive land use. Wherein people, there are ecological returns, there are economic returns, guaranteed and better economic returns for the farmer. So everyone of us are working in that direction. It can be eco-farm, we can call it eco-farm ponds, or we can call it kitchen gardens, nutri-gardens, or multi-layer farming. So all those models are there. But essentially how we try to look at it is that you are trying to take your land use from X to Y and make it more intensive, make it more integrated, and also have a, this thing on the income, that the farmer is able to generate a certain decent income, attractive income. So we sort of put, disaggregated the elements and said that, okay, all these things, we brought all of them together, whatever people were doing, different initiatives, synthesized them. So this is all that we are talking about, okay? And this, all of it are elements for the same purpose, and I might choose anything which suits my labor availability, my market availability, which suits, my land type, my present land use, okay? So how do, and then once I know these are my investments, where do those investments? So for example, each of this, if you go for with a farmer and they come up with an investment of, let's say, 1.5 to 2 lakhs, I need this much, maybe over 2 acres, 3 acres. How do you then mobilize that investment? Not entirely through grant, but using the grant in a catalytic manner, which is to underwrite the risk for the commercial capital, which is to provide incentives, if the capital is used properly and the milestones are achieved properly. And one of the wins in this has been that the public grant has actually preceded the philanthropic finance. The district administration really liked this model, and they, they put their weight behind it. They said that, okay, we are sanctioning this for the pilot, okay. Their special allocation, as well as aligned all the line departments and all the convergence, and said that, okay, this fund is available for you to try this out. If this scales up, you can use this mechanism not just to do this, but then to do, let's say, water management activities, or somebody wants to invest on certain, post-harvest, or anything that has a kind of a, cash flows or revenue angle to it. Can then, becomes a case to attract affordable commercial capital. So to end, this is what we have sort of, we can conclude in the last 1 year. So I mentioned that it's too soon to communicate outcomes, but the constraints is still, so it's a new idea. So all the civil society, they are doing their respective work. It's not that their, projects have ended. They are committed to the landscape, they are doing that work as well. But this whole sensibility to be owned by everyone and then to, imagine that kind of coordinated action. So that is one of the things. So slowly the whole, projectized lens should go away and the landscape lens should come. That everything we are doing, if that imagination comes that we are actually resourcing this platform and then this platform does. So we are still not there. The enablers is that in the process, because we are engaging with the community based organizations, with the WSHGs, FPOs, and the cadre in general. So there are people getting ready who understand these linkages, who have begun, they already understand, but then this is just that, okay, this realization and articulation, no? That there's natural resources and production systems and commons and their livelihoods, they're all interconnected. And then they can in turn, actually, so the expertise on, let's say, fisheries, the expertise on natural farming, the expertise, everything can be internalized in the landscape. There's buy-in from the district administration, I already said. One of the things is, which would really enable the whole thing, I again said, is how we deepen the engagement with the gram panchayats and the CPOs, because that really will allow it to achieve scale in the landscape, as well as we can get the lessons, we can distill out the lessons which will help us to take it to other landscapes as well. Again, in the scale-up kind of imagination of the area-based approach, as Sir also said, that the tools for mapping, the tools for understanding needs of the landscape, okay, and then planning, that will really help to scale this kind of an approach. And the partners workshop that we do. So there's facilitation bias. Who is facilitating? Uska aa jayega, है ना? So how do you have a frame of doing those workshops and of doing that facilitation, that you are actually not letting the bias creep in and actually keeping a ear to the ground. And again, solutions maybe. The whole solution thinking, if we can stop thinking of models, I think the modelization of anything is important from the perspective of pitching it to a banker or pitching it to someone who wants to put money, they want to see it in a structured way. Essentially, otherwise, and Sir was mentioning the knowledge commons thing on this yesterday, that we are basically agreeing as a civil society, as knowledge partners, we are agreeing on the core principles. So let's then start thinking on principles, and then the solutioning becomes a lot more, easier. Yeah, again, so instead of this action strategies being very operational, kind of a system level strategy, because we know that the institutional systems are quite similar in different landscapes. So if we build it on them, I just took an example of the vaccination system. So let's say if we have to build that vaccination system. So can we imagine? Okay, there will be training, there will be how they will share the revenue, what kind of revenue sharing will be there, disease surveillance tools, and all of this. So if we can move towards a systems level strategies, and within that systems level strategy, we can tweak it for the landscape or for the particular cluster with the landscape. Yeah, so that is it. Thank you.
And Lily, I would request if we can just quickly take one question and move to the next presentation in the paucity of time that we have.
What's the definition of the landscape that you were using?
In this case, it's a block.
It's a block.
Great. So thanks, Lily. We'll move to the next presentation. I will request Murli sir to please come. Murli sir is representing RYSS and partnership with the Government of Andhra Pradesh, and also representing one of the models where government is also involved. So.
शशांक इसको 5 मिनट के लिए बात कर दो थोड़ा सा 5 मिनट के लिए बात कर दो
Good morning. I deviate from your template. I have deviated from your template, but I is okay to introduce government model that is being done at a state level. So therefore there will not be able to follow your template.
Sure.
So I just want to take you through this. I just start with the broad context of landscape work happening under the spine of natural farming. The spine of our work is natural farming. Taking natural farming to scale. Scale in Andhra Pradesh, maybe in India, maybe outside India. But at the spine, so around that, how do landscape comes in? See, the trigger for us is that as of date, out of the 9 planetary boundaries defined, 7 are breached. 7 are breached. So there is an urgent need, we can't ignore it further. It has to be done. And natural farming seems to offer a solution in repairing this. So therefore, we can do this, And natural farming, we started with Palekar thinking, but it comes down to doing chemical-free, 365-day green cover with multi-layered, multiple crops. That's the conclusion we came to do. And this cannot be done only on the private land, it has to be done on all land in the long run. So we begin in private lands, but then we go further up. So I'll just leave that there. Then sequence is that there is a farming situation, they may be doing monocrop, they may be doing only one season cropping. But then you enter into, say, no, you introduce multiple crops, maybe they may be doing 2-3 crops, then more, 20, 30, 60, 70, you keep on increasing the number. No, only one season, do the second season also, in between the seasons also. So we start with pre-monsoon dry soil, Kharif, Rabi dry soil, then Rabi. So 3 practice. That's tell me. Then who should do? We start with the men, then we learn that women should do. No, the women can bring men also. So that's kind of a movement there. Third is we start only farming. No, not enough farming, you should talk about food system. Natural farming, food system. So that's the second shift. And not just food, maybe fodder, maybe fiber, maybe meat. So all that milk. And we said we'll maybe able to work with small farmers quickly, marginal farmers quickly. No, we also include labor. No, we also include large farmers. So that is kind of direction. Then the next is who should do? And we know outside people know that. No, only the local people who have done it will be able to tell others it works or not. So peers. So that's the apprenticeship methodology. Then community taking charge. But can we continue to do? No, it should be handed over to community. Who is the community? So we discovered it is the SLG and their federation, they are the most suited for this situation. Maybe Gram Panchayat in some senses, but wherever there is an actor, it is the community organizations. And in the process, we also discovered that agency of women improves. Agency on their own bodies, on their food, on their farms, on their groups, on their markets, on their governments. So agency of women increases all of this. Then the ownership. So data of the somebody is doing, somebody is not doing. Who will know? So community has to know. The community can endorse, community can certify. Because you can't keep track of every form yourself. It's only community can keep track. So data common sense coming, knowledge common sense coming. Because somebody knows somewhere, oh, can I try this? Can I try this? Can I try this? The last is you consume. First you consume, if there is more, if it is more, then I give it to my neighbor, if it is more, I give it to my in the village, if it is more, I'll give outside the village, then town. So it's not a world servicing the world. We service ourselves first, then rationality will go. So but wherever you go, then you require a traceability that is actually natural, actually chemical free, actually consumable. And we require local enterprises, local values, local processing. Current processing systems are not tailored to small process. So we need to have local things. That's the kind of arrangement. I'll not go into this, but just to say how natural farming works. But that's the next one. So this is the thing what is happening on the natural farming. The first is, as I was telling you, from single crop natural farming models to multi-crops, multi-season, all across. So that's the kind of thing. That's the first movement of time-based movement of the diversity-based movement. First one. The second one is I do start in a plot. Slowly I go to my entire land. So that is next step. Like, so starting at one plot, half acre plot, 1 acre plot. If I have 2 acres, can I do all 2 acres? So then comes, can I do a whole village? All the farmers are there, can they do? Can all of them do? If they do, then they realize that there are lands outside of the private domain. Who will do that? So that the question came to us. So that is the issue. So one of the ideas that came up is that can we take up bio-villages? So in this village we go and we saturate the number of farmers, then we say no, we'll add up all people. Can we nudge all of them to join the natural farming movement? So bio-village is coming to the picture. Then but bio-village feeding themselves. So there's a natural farming system there. Then they said, okay, no, I have one plot. My neighbor also has a plot, my neighbor also has a plot, can we be together? That's a compact crop. So we have got also compact crops. That's the next movement. Then another movement is that I work on natural farming, but will this be climate resilient? Can we reduce the uncertainty in that? So climate resilient village approach is also emerging. Thousands of villages have gone into this mode. Then the issue comes, I know I started addressing agriculture and I am a bio-village and I am able to address 80% people's land agriculture issues. But can I meet my other needs? My needs of health, my needs of education. My school is not good in the village. Can I do something about it? So we work with a civil society organization led by Noor Prasad on that block, in that mandal. Can you work with the district administration to bring in meeting the needs for the area? So that's the next issue. With the infrastructure gaps, the value you produce in market, you got enterprise infrastructure, but it has to go to the nearby market. How does it go? So then infrastructure gap will be there. Then we said, okay, one village is all right, but can we look at a mandal? Mandal is the equivalent of block in Andhra Pradesh. So we tried some 27 model mandals. So model mandal is the area where large number of villages already entered natural farming. Now can we saturate that? Can we saturate that? So that is the idea. Then we said, okay, one mandal is also fine, but can we look at a group of mandals? So in Kuppam, where our chief minister comes from, so we can look at entire constituency, 4 mandals, 5 mandals. So Kuppam area. You look at natural farming, look at value chain, look at everything. Look at all. Then can we now converge with others? Particularly important for us to converge with self, where they deal with self-help groups and federations. If we don't work together with them, it may be difficult to hand over the program to community. So we need to work with SGAP. So that's the first convergence that happened. In the beginning, we thought every SHG Women Federation has a constitutional right, they can organize and anybody can work. But it may be useful, a department who is coordinating with them also joins hands. Because when self came in, then when you want the movement to enter outside of the private lands, then forest became an important player, particularly in tribal areas. And then when the water is there, the irrigation department became an important issue. Then we go to Eastern Ghats, if you look at our AP, 30% of our area falls under Eastern Ghats. Large landscape. So I don't know which landscape we talk, village landscape, macro, we call it macro landscape. There is something meso that is happening at the mandal and at the ITDA district level. So 2 districts are totally tribal districts now. So that is the second layer. Third layer, Eastern Ghat itself. Can you not saturate entire Eastern Ghat? Then 4th layer, can you do entire AP? Can AP be NF Andhra Pradesh? So that is the kind of problem. So Then we started talking to district administration. Now district administration is fully involved in taking enough to scale. And taking enough to scale, then go beyond to private labs. Yeah. Then we had three examples where we taken landscape approach to complete demonstration. Fourth one we are trying with Win also, but let us see how it happens. But the first one is the World Food Program, trying to do 2 mandals in Annamaya district to address the climate change. The second one is with the National Disaster Management partnership with Vasan also, to do in 5 districts, 5 mandals, and how to go about doing it. Third one is Jeff. We started micro landscapes across Eastern. We are starting with 8 micro landscapes. Then they end up expanding to meso landscapes. Then to entire landscapes. And 2 districts, I am saying 200%. And we also, as a result of all this, we need to change the policy of the government. So we need to work on that. So first one I was mentioning, this is the project which has been started with World Food Program, and they are able to do with 2 locations, which is Annamaya, and they will be able to look at how climate is there. Therefore, the entire set, district administration, ROS administration, World Food Forestry administration, and local engineers. So that is set and works. And it also adding other, apart from farming, non-farming or enterprise-related livelihoods also, they come into the picture while addressing the climate change. The second one is this to do with the NDMA for the drought mitigation as a focus in the rain-fed area. So entire village again, when we are looking at 5 locations across the Rairan area of Andhra Pradesh, and that work also started. So look at I just introduced the amount just to tell you that the size. 5 locations means 175 crores. So 30-35 crores are being budgeted for that purpose. So last one. This is the, so look at the head number of people already in the project design itself. Some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, organizations are there and started some 3 years ago. And this is Andhra Pradesh. This blue color is Andhra Pradesh. The red color is the East Bengal. This is the red color is East Bengal. And the methodology is we work in 8 macro landscapes and slowly go into meso landscapes and go into East Bengal. Now, one of the ways is, I wait for all 8 macro landscapes to succeed, then go into meso, then go into that one methodology. We abandon that methodology. We will not wait for that. It will not work. As some results start happening in macro landscape, take that to meso, take that to Eastern Ghats. So that means whatever works in one macro, one little practice, oh, this works, can we try entire area? This works, can we try entire area? That's the methodology. So, and you can look at money also. 3.5 million USD is coming from JEF, whereas the ROSS and government of India has put 500 crores as co-finance. But this is not including convergence. There is another convergence money also to account. So, huge investment that had happened. And even then, results are much slower than what we envisaged. Okay, we had a huge plan, but what we got is less. So that's the second item. And this important issue, how to draw this landscape boundary. Is it a hill? Is it a valley? Is it one village? Is it a habitation? Is it a gram panchayat? Will it fit? So we went through these debates for 1.5 years, not less. And we agreed that even if it take one valley or one hill, and even if it falls into 2 GPs, let us take 2 GPs. So, and ask them to say, the natural landscape is what is taken as a base, but if it falls into villages, 3 villages will be taken. And the 3 villages will come together. That one issue came. The second issue that came up is that the moment that you have done that, 2 administrations have to work. First DP, second, they need to work together. Similarly, in the department, forest is there, tribal welfare is there, irrigation department is there, and ROS is there. All of us have different areas of work. Why we want to work together? So another important lesson that happened is that if we were not there doing natural farming, can we have brought them together to do landscape work? So the conclusion we drawn is that somebody has to be there doing some good work there. And that fellow will be able to bring in the landscape. You just can't go into the village and say, let us do landscape, it doesn't work. Somebody has to do some good work in something, then say, okay, now can we do landscape there? So for us, natural farm work, for some other health may work, somebody else market may work, but some reason, some work happening, then say, let us go into landscape. So that's an important dialogue. There are some results, I don't know, they seem to be okay. So these are the further plans. So in 27, 2 years later, can we hand over to the community fully? And who do you hand over? And what do you hand over? Eastern Ghat is the landscape. Who do you hand over? Can you hand over only pieces and forget remain 5, 10 villages, 10 lakhs maximum will forget? Then who will do the scaling? Can you hand over to a district administration and forget? Who will do the remaining next district? So we have this debate in the back of the mind. If you want to do Eastern Ghat landscape development, spread over 16 districts, how do you hand over? And who do you hand over? Do you create the organization at the Eastern Ghat level, or can an existing organization take it? So that is a question, but we have to unravel that in the coming 2 years. And demonstrate, 8 landscapes are only demonstrated. They are not the end all. That is not the end all. They are only demonstrating various elements. And a landscape is not exactly identical piece. No? I will show you the picture also, just an example. In one little place, variety is there. In not even one village, piece of the village, and the degraded land, non-degraded land, highly degraded land, all coexist in that place. Now, can I hand over to forest department? Say, no, you anchor it. Can I hand over to GP and you anchor it? Can I hand over to Vivo and anchor it? Can this area belongs to 2 Vivos. 2 Vivos. Now, who will do that? And can you create an artificial stakeholder organization, multi-stakeholder organization? Please take it. And they only worry about themselves. No? They are not worried about the community. That's another thing. So, modules, of course, handing over, that is the issue. 4th is important. And the 5th, particularly non-private, highly degraded land, we will do. If it is not forest, if it is not tribal welfare, if it is not any of this, they may be called broadly government lands, maybe not real estate, but in between. Who will do? Nobody is saying this is my area. Community also says, I don't care, I don't get benefit from it. Maybe after 10 years I may get benefit, where should I invest? So that is an important, maybe government should put in money. So that is, market probably will drive something. And therefore, sustainability, certification related issues. Policy is an important area, I told you, digital issue. And in the one advantage what Vijay mentioned and Durga Prasad mentioned, that is an important area. The moment when you sit with the community, they would not have visualized their entire land unless you have shown them on the map. Visualizing the 100-acre land, 200-acre land fully, accurately is not easy. So a satellite map helps. Rather than a cadastral map, then satellite map. Satellite map is critical because we get the feeling that is represented by that. As truly as it can. Then they are able to figure that out. So satellite map based planning has been extremely useful. Seeing that this can be done here, then we will do it. I'm not going to this. This may last. But I just wanted to say, a lot of things are helping. I will not go into this, but one thing that particularly helping is, don't wait for a complete plan. The complete plans never happen. When will there be a complete plan? Comprehensive plan. Start with anything quickly. We learned this lesson, hard lesson there. We took 18 months of plan. And at the end of it, I will use this plan. So we said, okay, let us do whatever endogenous, some plan has come, let us go further. Then you further plan after 6 months. Further plan after 6 months. That is an important enabler for us. And saying that you put the money into community, then only will help you is all not working. You give little money, let them do something with that. If they start benefit out of it, then they will also try to contribute. They will put money, they will put time, they will put energy into that. So initial budget is critical. Initial budget is critical. And many times the donors are putting reverse condition. Government what is reverse condition? Is that you put money, you demonstrate your interest, then we will think about contribution. This is not going to seem to be working. So, but we tried it the other way. We give the money and then you try it, it works. So that is an enabler for us. And the critical challenge is too many are there, remoteness, mobility, infra gaps. And what promises administrations give and they don't deliver. So that is a big challenge. They keep saying that we will do. Durga sir, administration will do. But the moment you do one village, when you go to next village, they say, no, you don't have money. I thought I'll give you money, but now 6 months over, now the money is not available. So that's an important issue. And we don't have people who will be able to help us technically. No corporate HR. Where do they set all over to work in remote areas? And they don't know the knowledge, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the skills, they don't have the tools, and they don't have the willingness to be with them. But wherever people are stayed as enabler, people with the community, and they say we will learn as the need arises, and that has helped. So this kind of a dimension. My critical learnings are, if I don't meet their needs, my landscape approach is not working. Am I meeting my need or my intellectual landscape approach? Intellectual landscape approach, no. Is it meeting their needs or not? That's the most fundamental thing. That's the first thing. And don't look for, as I tell you, endogenous nudging. Item plan 1, then plan 2, plan 3. Add more and more plans. Rather than say that, I'll wait for the full plan. And for us, of course, we are starting with NF. NF is the starting point to enter the village. NF national public first. And we work on existing and being with the patient, wait. We have to wait. Wait is not in months, years. Maybe 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. So that kind of patients we require. But we require models to work on various situations, integrated models. They are all templates. Model is also still a template. We have integrated templates for working in various situations. And we require enterprises. We require equipment. Tailored equipment available in the local areas. Convergence, I said. NTFP economic growth. Although we want to work on farming, we can't ignore working on the non-timber forest produce. And sometimes when you are particularly talking about multiple crops, you may require nurseries, you may require to have them. And I mentioned, David also mentioned, data and knowledge commons. Field champions. People who have done that kind of work in their little plots are the best champions there. So field champions are critical. The last learning is, if you don't talk about the logic, talk about the science to them, the planning is only go talk about science truthfully. Not say it worked there, let us do it, worked there, let us do it, not enough. You also logically argue with them with scientific facts that help the science help. And it's not yes. Any questions?
So we'll reserve the questions with the audience. We'll take a 5-minute quick bio break and then we'll be.
Let's